the great Keith Hernandez. Keith, good morning.
Good morning. I was here. For some reason, your guy there, it wouldn't write the voicemail. I'm sitting here waiting for your call. So
Yeah,
Boomer
Al
got through.
screws it up all the time, Al.
Boomer called an audible.
Yes, he did, and Boomer took care of everything. As we talk about Boomer, as Boomer's sitting right here. Listen, I got to tell you, I love you, Keith, and this has got to be exciting for you and Ronnie. This is big-time baseball. This is October baseball. This is pennant race baseball. This is what it's all about. And, I mean, none of us are really shocked after watching the Mets over the last 6 weeks. I mean, but let's face it, the Braves have always been the Achilles heel for this franchise, and I'm feeling like this team feels different now going down to Atlanta, getting ready to at least take 2 out of 3 from these guys.
I disagree. I think it's a whole new bunch here, and I'm sure there's history, and I can speak from my experience when I was young with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals could never win on the West Coast trip when you had the West Coast swing and you had those 9 games in 10 days on the West Coast. And finally, in 81 under Herzog, we went there in the second half of that strike year, and we cleaned the West Coast clock. And I remember starting that trip, and it was an August stretch run, and we had to win. We couldn't have that kind of road trip, even though it had nothing to do with our ball club. So we felt it, and it was a relief to get the monkey off our back, so to speak. So, okay, sure. But I think this is a new group. This is a team that is fun to watch. They've got all kinds of mojo going right now. I mean, they put a marker down with 3 out of 4 at home against the Phillies, and the way they've played and with determination and hustle and spirit. Don't think that Philly didn't leave town knowing that they're going to have their work cut out for them if they ever meet in the postseason.
Yeah, and I would love that right now, as good as Philadelphia has been. Bring them on with the way that the Mets are playing. We're talking to Keith Hernandez on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. I know you're not a weatherman, but you are down in Atlanta. It looks ominous for Wednesday and Thursday. You think they're going to find a way to get all these games in, or we're going to have to deal with makeup games at the end of the season?
They've got to play these games. I've heard that the Mets might play a doubleheader tomorrow because Thursday is going to be looks like a washout. So, that is, I think, to the Mets' advantage. And it's always hard to sweep doubleheaders, but you got to play this game in chronological order. This series at the end of the season because everything's hanging in the balance. Hanging in the balance for where the Mets are going to be. The Braves, where they're going to be, the positioning of the wild card. The Mets still up, with 6 to go to catch San Diego with 3 ahead. That's going to be a tall order, but they're fighting Arizona, and they take 2 out of 3. That's it for Atlanta. And if Atlanta takes 2 out of 3, they're right back in the hunt. 1 game out with 3 to play.
Yeah, that's why these things are so big, Keith. Any update on Francisco Lindor? Do you know whether or not he's going to play? And if he does play, we were wondering this morning. I mean, is he going to be limited to maybe being a DH, or can he go full go here?
I have not heard anything. The Mets have been very hush-hush, only what I've read in the paper. That the back's a very tricky thing. It hurts him more, I believe, from the left side when he swings, but that was 2 days ago when we got that update. So it's he's had a chance to get more treatment. He's taken BP, evidently. We'll see. It's just amazing that how they played without him. And young Acuna, the way he's performed, and Iglesias, how they picked it up, and Taylor. I mean, this is a group effort, and this is what it takes to win. You know that, and it's kind of fun to watch this kind of come together. It's like all the stars are aligning for this team, but they've earned it. This is a good team.
Yeah, I mean, and it's they have to make the playoffs at this point. It feels like, even though it's going to be a successful season no matter what, coming back from the dead, 11 games under 500. How would you characterize Pete Alonso's 2024 season?
Well, it hasn't been up to Pete's standards, that's for sure. Has it been because of the contracts? Who knows? I think as the season progressed, Pete's an emotional guy, very emotional, and very emotional. So that pretty much covers it. And I think that when you're a hitter and you're not driving in runs and in the clutch, it, and it can snowball. And I think Pete is pressed. He's pulled too much this year, particularly the breaking ball. And they can come in there and say, "Well, I'm hitting in bad luck." My exit velocity is 100, and up there in the top 5. Well, that's all BS. They can play you to pull. You're hitting into the shift, and it's just because Pete has been I think out in front, not letting the ball get a little deeper, and that's just my opinion. But it hasn't affected he's played hard every day, and you're hoping that he can have a big series. There's 6 games left. Boy, if he can bang it together for 6 games, everybody forget about it.
Yeah, two things that jump out at me in regards to the Mets here this season. One is the manager, Carlos Mendoza. He called a meeting with he and David Stearns about a week ago. This was to talk to the team about Francisco Lindor and his injury. Francisco Lindor led a team meeting about 2 months ago, and I felt like whatever was said in those meetings really resonated. Number one, your impressions of rookie manager Carlos Mendoza and how he's handled this season.
I think he's been absolutely terrific. He is a baseball man. He has always got the same demeanor, smile on his face, no up and down emotionally. And he's a rookie manager, and this team, in the month of May, was finding a new way to lose every day, if you recall. It was just such an abysmal month. And he never wavered, was steady. The captain was steering the ship. And for a rookie manager, it was very impressive. Now, bring it up to speed lately. Give David Stearns a ton of credit for bringing in the players here that have made this possible, turned this team around and made it into a solid roster. So he's used the bullpen, Mendoza, wonderfully. And I think that he has, like he said, I read the quote in the paper with the 6-out save for Diaz. He's a grown man now. We've kind of nursed him along all year. Now it's time for him to step up. He challenges his players. He treats them all the same. And he's really been a terrific manager on the field. And I think that it's either going to be him or they talked about the guy at Milwaukee to be manager of the year, but I think it's Carlos Mendoza in my book.
Yeah, Keith, it was interesting. We had a caller call in this morning, and he talked about when Carlos Mendoza went out to talk to Edwin Diaz in that last game against the Phillies, and he didn't go out there to take him out. He went out there to go talk to him and say something to him. And, that obviously was something we all saw. We all said, wow, this is interesting, especially given the enormity of the game, when the game was, and what Edwin Diaz had been through this year. So I think that right there in itself is an example of just how much in control Carlos Mendoza has turned out to be.
The manager is the boss. He's the platoon leader. And, when Carlos goes out, he goes out to take you 99% of the time to take the pitcher out. Now, obviously, when he went out there, everybody knew he wasn't taking Diaz out. But players need a competition and someone to, give them the challenge. The challenge is where it's all at. And I think that what he did there was terrific. It reminds me of what Whitey used to do, Whitey Herzog. When he would come out, he wasn't pulling a pitcher. I mean, the pitcher's out there all by himself. He's got 8 players out in the field, but he has got to make the pitches. And the 40,000 people that are there, it's all on the pitcher. And you've got to go out there and when someone's maybe a little bit shaky confidence-wise, give them a boost. Bring out the competitive spirits. Anybody that plays professional sports at this level, in any sport, they're here because A, they're talented, and B, they're tough mentally, and they wouldn't have gotten here without mental toughness. Even though at times when you struggle, you kind of get maybe a little shook confidence-wise. That's when you need your manager to go out there and pump you up.
All right, final question for me, and that is this: if Lindor is healthy and he is playing shortstop, what are you doing with Acuna? Is he staying in the lineup playing second base, and then Iglesias coming off the bench? I mean, like, how do you think that works out if, in fact, Francisco is able to play?
You can't take Iglesias out of the lineup. Number one, it's one of the best. I've never seen a finer fielding second baseman. He has to stay in the lineup. Vientos has to stay in the lineup. The only other alternative is to put Acuna in center field. And Dickie Scott told Carlos Mendoza, Mendoza told us when he first got called up, that Dickie said he can play short, second, and center field. Don't be scared about putting him out in any of those three positions. He can do it. Now, that is with Bader not hitting right now. Do you want to, with 6 games remaining, and you haven't seen him play center field, are you going to run him out there in center field? That's to be one gutty move right there. But,
yeah.
Bader brings you defense, and that outfield with Taylor, Bader, and Nimmo is a solid defensive outfield. This club is solid defensively, and it's been fun for me to watch them play. On the infield, in the outfield.
Keith, always great to talk to you. Hopefully they do get all 3 of these games in, and it's a different result than 2022. Talk to you soon, hopefully.
Okie doke. I'm around.
He's around.
Great job, Keith. Great to talk to you, brother.